In the year May 11th, on the Thursday day of the week, an indie game owned by an up-and-coming tech giant with a small player base of only around 300 million people saw its way onto everyone's favorite $300 Christmas gift for 7 years. It was on this day in 2017 that Tatsumi Kimishima and Bill Gates came together and completed the difficult and grueling task of asking f.k.a. Studios to port Minecraft to the Nintendo Switch. Boy oh boy, did they literally do just that. Minecraft is a game where blah blah whatever. You guys hear about the Switch? I've heard so many good things about it. My only issue is that I want to play this game I bought 6 times already, but this time, in a way, it's already been available twice for 6 years. Well, lucky for me, Microsoft's got me covered. Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition. Boy, did it happen. I'm not going to go into exactly why this existing makes no sense, but if you want the reason, then watch one of these videos, I guess. All you need to know for the most part is that this game, similarly to other console legacy versions of Minecraft, features multiplayer exclusive to the console it's on. As in, you're only playing with other Switch Edition players. No crossplay. But on May 11th, when this game came out, Mojang had been developing an update for Minecraft PE and Minecraft Windows 10 Edition that would let users on other devices play together, eventually to be revealed as the Better Together update. The update went into public beta in July of 2017 and officially released in September. And what could you do when it came out? Well, it really only united mobile, PC, and Xbox, and hopefully more platforms in the future. And of course, eventually this update was slowly adapted for more and more platforms. So essentially, and also literally, the mobile version of the game was replacing all these proprietary versions, and eventually we would get to where we are today. A bunch of ports of an Android game that all support crossplay. One connected user base, all better together and buggy console ports of a mobile game. Wow, we really are better together. But why is this important? Well, when the Switch came out, Mojang was aware of their plans to unite all platforms with the Better Together update, but of course, the update wasn't going to be anywhere near complete when the Switch launched on March 3rd. So what do? Well, you can't just not put Minecraft on it, so instead, you tell your buddies over at f.k.a. Studios to please make a Switch version of one of those console legacy games and do it right fucking now, please, because the console comes out in March. So while Mojang was working tirelessly to get an Android app to run on an Xbox, f.k.a. pumped out Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition. And shocker, it was consistently and almost always the #1 selling digital-only eShop title literally every single week it was ever available. But that was the thing. It was a digital exclusive. What about those of us who like killing turtles? How will we manage without a small piece of plastic with a small piece of plastic in it? If I'm not able to fill up the limited shelf space I have with overpriced garbage, how will I go on living? Well, no worries. A physical version is on its way.
And in stores at a later date.
Well, phew, I was this close to relapsing. So we just gotta wait, and wait, and wait, and wait. This sure is taking a while. Well, what the hell's even going on with these games anyway? Well, in September, the Better Together update was released for PC and mobile, and then for Xbox as a separate title entirely. And then also, Minecraft on the 3DS came out? What? But that didn't have the Better Together update. Then 2 months later, it got a physical release. What? Hello? Well, a few more months pass, and all the console legacy versions except Xbox One Edition are still being supported. But then after Mojang said the Xbox One Edition would stop receiving updates, they suddenly started updating it again? What? Then they said that the Better Together update was coming to the Switch. So is this getting a physical release or what? Apparently, porting the Better Together update was taking so long because they were having trouble getting the crossplay to work with the Switch, which is hilarious. As if Microsoft isn't a trillion-dollar company with studios comprised of thousands of professional video game developers, and it took them almost 8 months to figure out how to connect this to this. Well, anyway, time keeps moving on, and then eventually, Mojang finally announced that this Better Together update was coming to the Switch in June. They still have yet to give any update on the physical release of this game, though. What the fuck goes on at this company that the physical release can't just come out the same day as the digital ones? This wasn't even shadow dropped. Do they keep losing the phone number for the Taiwanese child labor camps? You would think that they just actually have no clue what the fuck they're doing or saying. A physical release for this game. It's been over a year now. You guys make any progress yet? What are you, still designing the box art? But now with this Better Together update, is the Switch gonna get a separate title like the Xbox got a separate title? And if it is, will this version still get a physical release like they said? Will this new version get the physical release? You know, for an update that's supposed to unify a platform and simplify the titles of these games to make playing together seamless and remove any possible confusion surrounding it, this sure is the single biggest incomprehensible clusterfuck of unexplainable software management I've ever seen in any medium ever. I mean, what the fuck is going on? Why not just change literally nothing and then add crossplay to these games? Then just develop similar versions for PC and mobile. What in God's name is any of this going on here? It's as if the person responsible for mapping this out died halfway through planning it and then just fell on the keyboard. And then they decided to go with it anyway. I mean, what? How do you make simplification this complicated? Well, on June 21st, I guess Mojang just finally figured out how to do crossplay with this thing because a new game, simply called Minecraft, was released for the Nintendo Switch. Just like on the Xbox One, owners of the console legacy game could download this new version for free. On Xbox, there are a few requirements, but here you can just download it regardless. And guess what? On June 21st, along with its presence in the eShop, came a physical release. Jesus fucking Christ. So let me just straighten this out for us all. Mojang puts console legacy on the Switch knowing that the Better Together update is on its way because people will just buy it anyway. They say a physical release is coming soon. After over a year of waiting, the Better Together update finally comes as new software and receives a physical release, and the Nintendo Switch Edition is delisted from the eShop. Well, this tells me one thing. If you didn't buy the Nintendo Switch Edition when it was available, then it's gone. You're not playing it. It never received a physical release like Mojang said, and you can't buy it anymore. If you missed your chance, that's just it. There is no way of playing it anymore. You can try it on an emulator and watch it bug out if you want, or you could try to force install it on a modded Switch and not only risk bricking your console, but also risk Nintendo taking you to court and killing your family. And is it really worth it just to play an outdated version of Minecraft? No, it's really not. So if you didn't buy it, that's all she wrote. Oddly enough, although you can't purchase the game from its page on the eShop anymore, you can still buy all the DLC available for it. I love the idea of that. Mojang will not allow you to buy this old version of Minecraft anymore, but if you happen to own it and still want to give them money for its DLC, I mean, Mojang's not going to complain. Why would you even want to play this anyway? Well, I guess the most realistic answer is that it's just fascinating. It's a niche piece of software you can't buy anymore. The boat came and the boat went. There's definitely a lot of people who are interested in playing such an odd release of Minecraft. I mean, look at Apple TV Edition, for example. That version was lost media for years, and it wasn't that you couldn't play it anymore. It was that it literally was wiped from the face of the earth, and there was no archive of it anywhere. And today, well, no one really cares about it still, but my point is that even if playing it is nothing special, it's still just kind of interesting. It's like a time capsule. And I guess the other reason you might want to play this is simply because you want to play Minecraft on your Switch, but you don't want to play Bedrock. You just want that classic console legacy experience. Xbox One Edition was removed from the Microsoft Store when that console received the update, but that version was already available physically for years. If you really want to check that version out, it's like $20 on eBay. This truly is something unique. The new Better Together version allowed you to transfer worlds from your console legacy game, but other than that, there was no way to access the old version in the new version. Really just wanted you to forget about that. Even today they do that. Take PS4 Edition. For some reason, when the Better Together game came to PS4, it didn't receive its own release. It just took over the console legacy game. What the fuck is wrong with this company? But now there's a big button on the title menu if you want to go back to the old version. But this only applies if you have the physical version of PS4 Edition, or if you bought the digital version before the Better Together update arrived here. If you buy the game digitally now, or just buy the new physical release, that button is just removed and you have no way of accessing it anymore. Even if you bought the digital version before the update, and then insert the physical disc of the new version, the data from the disc overrides the digital version and just removes the button from the game, even if that digital version was bought before the update and previously had the button. It's the most bizarre and confusing shit on the fucking planet. Well, let's just step back here. Why is this even worth talking about? Well, I don't know, you clicked on the video. I mean, what do you think? When you open the game, a naked brunette comes out of the Switch and blows you. Like, no, it's just fucking Minecraft. But there must be something this game has that no other version's got, right? Well, I guess there's a few things, so why not overanalyze this discontinued, unoriginal software just for funsies? I happen to have bought the game when it was available, and boy oh boy is it just sitting here in my library. $30 well spent. I could have bought cigarettes, but I got Minecraft instead. Without prolonging a meaningless use of your time, let's hop into the shortest-lived and most inaccessible version of Minecraft Mojang ever somehow made. Before we jump in, Sellout Man 3600 is back with another sponsor. Today he's showing you a thing about a platform that's called Instant Gaming. This is for those of you watching who are interested in video games, which I'm going to assume is at least 4 of you. Instant Gaming sells game keys at a discount, often much lower than other retailers. This goes for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. Games from years ago and games that aren't even out yet. All keys are sourced from authorized distributors and completely legit. They have a 4.7 rating on Trustpilot and have been selling keys for over 10 years now. You can even buy online storefront codes at a discount if you're not looking for anything specific. If you'd like to support this channel and the awful things it does, consider using the link in the description to check out Instant Gaming and add more games to your backlog that you will continue to pretend you will get to someday. Your support helps me do videos and other things such as buying more Apple TVs with outdated firmware. Thank you Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video, and thank you for supporting the documentation of shit no one cares about apparently. Now, on to this crap. So, as far as versions go, even if you were lucky enough to pick this game up when it was available, you're not playing anything but the final release. Ain't no way you're gonna be able to downgrade this. Your first time booting into the final version, you'll be met with this message letting you know that Mojang is upgrading your console-optimized version of Minecraft to a historically unstable Android game. The main menu. Nothing says you're not getting laid more than the Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition title screen in 2025. The last major update for this version, similarly to Xbox One Edition, was the World of Color update. Here on the home screen, we get all our familiar console legacy options, but something here returns from only one other release, and that would be the Change Network mode option as seen on the PS Vita edition. I'm sure those of you with functioning limbs can figure out what that does, but we'll go into that later. Also, like Xbox One Edition, this version has the download the latest version of Minecraft for free button, which you're never gonna believe what pressing this button does. That's right, it turns on your Wii U. If you've watched my other videos on Minecraft versions or have been paying attention so far, you'll know that I love crying about how terrible of a job Mojang has done managing versions of Minecraft, and how that their quest for quote-unquote consistency has created the most confusing and incomprehensible mess of any intellectual property ever in history. But it would be ignorant of me to ignore the just as annoying inconsistencies that the console legacy games were left rotting with. But that's also their fault anyway. First of all, let's remember that of the 7 console legacy games that were released, 2 were on 7th gen consoles, 4 were on 8th gen consoles, and 1 was on a 9th gen console. The 2 earliest to be discontinued were an 8th gen game and a 9th gen game. The next 4 to be discontinued were 2 7th gen games and 2 8th gen games. Then the last to be discontinued was also an 8th gen game. What a fucking mess. So both 7th gen versions received updates more recent than both an 8th gen game and a 9th gen game, but the version that received updates the longest was an 8th gen title. So of the big 3 strains here, both Nintendo and Xbox have newer consoles with older versions, and PlayStation has a newer console with a newer version than both its other consoles, and all other newer consoles. What in the holy mother of fuck goes on inside this company? Mojang has never and will never receive anywhere near as much credit as they deserve for how unbelievably terrible they are at managing software. This isn't even unfortunate due to factors outside of Mojang's control. This is just a company being embarrassingly incompetent at mapping out their own development strategies. Microsoft executives, as dumb as they may be, are not involved in their subsidiaries' video game development cycles enough to make these horrifically shit decisions for them. Mojang is doing a perfectly fine job on their own of being run by some of the biggest jokes in the industry who only have a job because it's almost impossible to ruin this game. If you've played any of their other attempts at entertainment, you'll know that this is the only thing they've ever had and will ever have going for them. So here we are. The final console legacy game also happens to run the oldest version like Xbox One Edition, but shares network features similar to the Wii U edition. It does world transfers over a local network instead of over servers like the other 2 8th gen games, but is more outdated than the version transfers were supported from. The most recent console legacy games for each of the big 3 allowed owners of these games to upgrade to the newer Bedrock version for free. On Xbox One, you could upgrade your digital copy to Bedrock for free up until November 30th, 2019. If you had a physical copy, you had to have had at least 5 hours of gameplay within the last 12 months or have bought any DLC. If you met these requirements before November 30th, you would receive a message from Xbox with a download code. Wow, how straightforward. On PlayStation, there was no need to download the new version because the old version was just updated into the new version. For this game, you could upgrade to the new version for free, and still can because there was never a cutoff date for upgrading this version. You can't make this shit up. Who was the guy who did this? It's like they let a new person run the company every week. Well, let's focus back on this game. What do you guys think about DLC? Remember when you would buy a piece of DLC and you knew it was going to be quality because 4J Studios made it? Or do you guys prefer this community-made slop? This game has the fewest DLC of any other console legacy game. When this game came out, Battle Games had already been receiving new maps in the form of DLC for a while, but at launch, Switch Edition only had the 3 default maps. It wasn't until the Chinese Mythology mashup pack was released for it that it received 1 more map. And that was it. Wii U Edition had much more DLC than this game. As I said earlier, the DLC content released for Switch Edition, despite the game itself no longer being purchasable, can still be bought in the eShop if you so please. Do with that what you want. While in the eShop, let's check out this game's store page. The description features a publisher notification from Mojang reminding its users of its discontinuation. If you own both game versions, the DLC can be transferred, but only from the old to the new version. So if you were to buy any DLC here, it would make more sense to buy it for the old version. That way, instead of buying content for the new game, you could buy it for the old game and then use it in both. Although Nintendo's new family group lending system supports this title, something that never supported it was cloud saves. For some reason, cloud saves with NSO were never supported, so the only way to move a world from console to console within this version would be to manually transfer and overwrite your save data onto the target console. The game claims to support the use of the touchscreen, but as you'll see later on, it barely deserves the right to claim that. Although still listed under Mojang's published games, you can't find this game naturally under recommended feeds due to it being delisted. And following the implementation of the virtual game card system, to re-download this game, you have to do it through your game library. The rest of the menus are nothing interesting. As all versions do, this one has its own graphic in place for the credits. All else is the same, including the swap controls like in Wii U Edition that can of course just be remapped in the settings. The achievement system functions the same way it does in the Wii U Edition. Since Nintendo is allergic to common sense, the game features a built-in achievement system with pop-ups similar to the pop-ups you would see on Xbox or PlayStation, though instead of some logo, your Mii's face appears next to the achievement name. If you play this game using a system profile that doesn't have a Nintendo account linked, you'll be asked to link one literally every fucking time you try to play in a world. It's so ridiculous. But now, let's just see some gameplay. This game, for some reason, only supported resolutions up to 720p. Microsoft said it wasn't because the Switch was too weak to handle it, but it was limited to 720p in both handheld and TV mode. This falls in line with the Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii U editions, which were all limited to a native 720p as well. It wasn't until the 1.06 update that 1080p support was finally added to the game. What a treat. I love buying unfinished games. There's 4 different world sizes in this version, much larger than the Wii U Edition's one. Like every version, this game has its own unique icons for the different Nintendo Switch inputs. It also utilizes the same default control scheme as every other console legacy game excluding Vita unless you play it on a PS TV. But similarly to Vita and Wii U Edition, this version of the game features touchscreen support, and boy does it not go any further than that. The touchscreen support is the absolute bare fucking minimum. Once again, touchscreen support is limited to hitting buttons on the menu and tapping on items in your hotbar. Also like the other versions with touchscreen support, you can tap on the on-screen control prompts to do that respective action, but you can't actually hold them down. So you can tap on the brake button, but not actually hold it down to brake anything. It's so odd. Scrolling through the menus and stuff can be convenient, but it's painfully obvious these interfaces were never meant to be navigated with anything but a joystick. Compare this to any version of Pocket Edition where touch controls are literally your only option, and you'll immediately notice those little design details missing from the console legacy's touch control implementations, such as rubber banding and dynamic scroll speeds. No inventory management. And what a missed opportunity to support the option to play only using the touchscreen like on mobile. Unique to this version is mobile multiplayer. First of all, obviously like all the others, this game supports local multiplayer with up to 3 other players, each getting the option to play using a profile in the system or just using a guest account. But also, along with its Bedrock equivalent, this game is the only portable version of Minecraft to support local split-screen multiplayer. And boy does it make for an awful playing experience. I could never imagine playing like this. This is one of those things where the only time this would ever be utilized is by like siblings on a long car ride, and it would be the best thing ever. But imagine just being a normal dude with some people and playing split screen like this on a tiny 720p screen. You would look like an asshole. But let's take this to an even further extreme. The Switch OLED features a vibrant 7-inch touchscreen, but take that down to the standard modeled 6.2-inch screen, and suddenly the scenario becomes even more unplayable. But why stop there? Why not play 4-player split screen using the Switch Lite's 5.5-inch screen? And now, you really have a good reason to end it all. This is putrid. This is the kind of thing that the government puts you on a list for. Of the 7 console legacy games, 6 of them still support online, and Switch is one of them. I find it humorous that the only version of console legacy that no longer supports online play was one of 3 versions that didn't charge for access to it. With your paid subscription, you can access the privilege of playing the game you bought online. Obviously, online multiplayer is still supported here, but good luck finding anyone to play with. A feature from the Wii U edition that doesn't carry over is the ability to join someone's game directly from your friends list. This is more of a console limitation since Nintendo loves taking away basic functions of a platform, but this makes it the only console legacy game to not support game invites or voice chat, the most unfriendly and silent version of them all. Just like Wii U Edition, this game cost $10 more than on any other platform because it was sold exclusively bundled with DLC. One of those pieces of DLC was none other than the Mario Mashup Pack. Is there any difference between the Switch version of the Mashup Pack and the Wii U version? Well, yes actually, and that was that the Switch version featured fewer textures, this being due to the fact that it was discontinued earlier than Wii U Edition, so certain mobs, blocks, and items were just never brought over to the Switch edition. The Mashup Pack was released for Wii U after the game's launch, but was included at release for Switch. The Switch edition has, by far, the most bare-bones versions of minigames. As I said earlier, there were only 3 battle maps at launch, and 1 added later as DLC. Since the other maps were never ported over, there's no Season Pass available in the eShop. Although this version came out for a console that was the newest of all their supported platforms, this game's battle mode was still limited to 8 players. Xbox One Edition and PS4 Edition saw 16-player support added, but Switch was still limited to 8. Minigames could be played locally as well, like most other versions. These servers are still up, but there is almost nobody playing this anymore. I tried multiple times over the course of a few hours, but was not able to find any Tumble or Glide servers to join. I found only 2 lobbies playing battle minigames, but the most amount of people I ever saw in one was 3. It feels so sad compared to in 2017 when you could create a server and fill it up in under a minute. Local will always be an option though, and screen peeking will always be unavoidable. If you have friends with this version though, I'm very sorry to hear that, but you could play with them locally over a local network. And how would that work? Well, sadly I only have one license for this game, but through some network fuckery, I was able to run the game on 2 different systems, but it seems that even then, the game won't let me join the other console even if they're being played by different profiles. There is no difference to how this would function compared to online though. But what if, theoretically, I wanted to take the sad pathetic proof of loser on my Wii U and move it over to my Switch? Well, too fucking bad, you piece of shit. You can't. For a period of time, you were able to transfer worlds from your Wii U over to your Switch, but this feature was removed from the Switch edition. All 3 lines of ports allowed you to transfer last-gen worlds to new-gen versions, but all 3 have since stopped supporting this. Why is this? Well, because of Mojang's piss-poor management, of course. It wouldn't work to transfer a world from a version of the game that's more recent than the one it's being transferred to, so instead they just removed it entirely. Thank you, Mojang. It's incredible to me that people don't point and laugh at this embarrassment of a company and instead treat them like they're some amazing developer. They develop one thing and it's all they have. This could have all been handled better by someone wildly unqualified for the position, which honestly is probably what happened anyway. Like, take some random woman with a degree in culinary arts and let her run Mojang, and at the absolute worst, nothing will change. I must say though, it's really an interesting move to go out of your way to remove this transfer feature from PlayStation, despite PS Vita to PS3 running the same version, and both PS Vita to PS4 and PS3 to PS4 running earlier versions going into a newer one. So the fact that none of these methods are any longer possible is just truly amazing. The difference between these 2 transfer methods and this one though is that these 2 function by temporarily uploading your world to a server. Then the target console would download it and convert it, so long it was using the same PSN or Xbox Live account. The Wii U and Switch on the other hand did this over a local network, meaning that worlds were transferred over your Wi-Fi and not some Mojang server. This also meant that the target console didn't need to be using the same Nintendo account as the source console, but that's all just hearsay now since this feature was removed. Now, if you want to move any of these worlds around, you'll have to use third-party methods that may or may not require jailbreaking your consoles. You can, however, still transfer worlds from the console legacy version to the Bedrock edition of the game on all 3 platforms, Switch included. Hilariously, the transfer option was removed from the Wii U menus, but since the Switch edition was just discontinued abruptly, the option to receive a transferred world is still there, but just completely useless unless you're running a version of Wii U edition that was released while the Switch edition was still supported. Ultimately, that's just it. There's nothing left to say. This version is easily the most inaccessible version of Minecraft ever, and it doesn't help that there was only a 58-week period where you could buy this game. Yeah, 58 weeks on the eShop, just over a year, also making this the shortest ever supported version of Minecraft to ever be released. It's also the only console legacy game to be exclusively digital, the only thing coming close being the North American version of PS Vita edition that was only released as a code inside a game case, and is weirdly uncommon for some reason. The thing about other discontinued Minecraft versions is that they'll always exist, right? Like, you can pick up physical copies of these games, but this one you just can't. Let's compare this to my old friend Minecraft Apple TV Edition. If you want to fully play Apple TV Edition on native hardware communicating properly with official services, you can do that. It's going to be a bit hard and expensive and may require some eBay scouting, but once you have the right hardware, you can fully install that game, iCloud support and all, and play it how it was left to rot. You just can't do that with this version. If you didn't buy it, that's just kinda it. I mean, it's not lost. ROMs if it exists. You could always mod your Switch and install the NSP directly to your console, but good luck doing that without soft-breaking your console and having Shigeru Miyamoto show up at your door to personally stab you to death. There is actually one version that I would say, with an asterisk, is even more inaccessible than this game, but maybe that's something I'll talk about at some point in the future. For now, if you really want to play this game but you didn't buy it, you're kinda just SOL. But you're really not missing much. I'm not gonna act like this is some crazy unique experience. It's fucking Minecraft. What do you think? Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition marked the beginning of the end. Mojang would love it if you stopped believing it existed. It's the only console legacy version of the game not listed at all on their website. This game is also playable on Switch 2 consoles, though with some hiccups. The loading times are faster, but there's a few game crashing glitches exclusive to this method of playing. It's always cool to see games run worse on more powerful hardware. I hope Mojang never changes and continues to surprise us with baffling decisions no other company on planet Earth is fucked up enough to make. It's what I'm living for at this point. I'm Bearman, and I've been wasting your time. Thanks for watching.